Hello and welcome to 52/1995, your live music conversation podcast for diving deep into the music of 1995. This is our first expansion into the 52 universe from our sister podcast, 52/1995 Movies. I am your host, Alyssa, and I am joined this week, as always, by my fantastic co-host, Cody. Cody, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm tapping my toes and bobbing my head and doing all the things that you do with music.
Just living a life, you know?
Living la via la vida. Nope, I can't remember it.
Just La Vida Loca,
Yeah, I'm living that crazy life.
the crazy life. For if you are joining us for the very first time, welcome. We love to have you. Thank you so much for joining. But what we do here is that each week, 52 weeks in a year, right, we are going to explore a different album from the year 1995. We're going to dive deep into the year's important releases, really discuss them in detail. And I'm going to chat with my guest about their thoughts and experiences with the music. Now, last week started off the first week into our new theme, which is British Invasion. Britpop British Invasion is the theme of this month. Last week we talked about Blur, so naturally this week we've got to follow things up with the album What's the Story? Morning Glory by Oasis. So before we jump into it, I want to pass it off to Cody because I know Cody likes this album and has some thoughts about this album. So Cody, what were your first impressions? Was this listen through your first impression? Or how did your previous impression shape this listen through?
So I think that this is one of those ones that I had heard back in the '90s, whenever it came out. I think my sister had this album, as a lot of teenagers did at this time. And then I remember listening to it again, probably. So back then, I know the hits from the song, and then getting into it again, probably in the early 2000s. I had a friend that listened to a lot of Oasis and a lot of some other '90s alt rock things, and this one felt very much of that. So probably in the early 2000s, I listened to it again, and honestly didn't really think about it again until we brought it up on the podcast and had to listen to it again. And then as I started listening to it, I was like singing along with it a lot, realizing that I knew a lot more than just the two big songs, I think, from this album, or the ones that most people remember anyway from this album. I knew a lot of the other songs, so this was an exciting listen for me, to go back and be like, oh, this is really a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So I really enjoyed this. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't want to give too much of my, don't want to show too much of my hand right now, but no, I enjoyed listening to this a lot.
I'm glad. Well, we will get into, all of our thoughts and feelings about the album. I had like shocking less experience with this album. Everybody knows Wonderwall. Wonderwall is Oasis's song. It was huge in the United States. It was huge all over the globe. But everybody knows it. And really, my only exposure to Oasis is Wonderwall, and specifically is the association with this song being the song that every white dude with a guitar in high school learned. And it's like a meme. It's a meme at this point. And I actually looked it up. I was like, why does everyone learn Wonderwall on guitar? And apparently, it's a pretty easy song to learn. And it's one of those ones that once you get it down, once you understand the chords in Wonderwall, a lot of other songs are a lot easier to learn after that because you get it down once. So because I was like, how did we get here? How did we get to anyway? Here's Wonderwall. Like, how did we get to that point? So, but that's the only. I was excited that when this album came up, I was like, oh, this is the album that has Wonderwall on it. I know that one, so we already got a head start. But yeah, I had no other prior exposure to Oasis. The other big song on the album, did not know it was an Oasis song until it started playing. So that was a nice little surprise for me. But yeah, first impressions were pretty decent, pretty good, especially coming off of last week. And talking about Blur's The Great Escape and talking about the Battle of Britpop, I was like jazzed. We skipped a week. We restructured our weeks because we had to talk about Oasis immediately after Blur. We skipped over Pulp. We'll talk about Pulp next week, but we had to do these weeks back to back because of the drama, the lore, the background of it all. So I was pretty excited to dive into this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I this this album is so 90s to me, but also very like I think that's why I come back to it and every time I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. Like I think this album transcends its time period a little bit.
Mhm.
Um in my opinion, I think that you could come out with some of these songs today and it would still be relevant 30 years later. I don't know. I just I'm pretty happy with this album.
It is impressive, and
It it feels less Brit pop, even though it is so Brit pop. It
mhm.
feels less Brit pop than what we got last week.
That is so interesting that you say that because I have the opposite opinion.
Really?
Really, that so to me, like this out just listening to it from a strictly neutral perspective, I never would have classified this album as pop.
Hmm.
I understand that it's in the genre of Britpop. That again, it was big in the 90s. It comes out of Britain. It is popular music, but I would like listening back to Blur last week where we had the lo-fi vibes and the ska vibes and like the kind of the weird, like the weirdness going on and like the synthesizers. I was like, this is pop. This is I see why this is considered pop. And that to me, I was like, maybe this is what Britpop sounds like. Then we get this, I'm like, this is a rock album. This is, and even before, and we'll kind of get into it. Oasis, this is like their second album,
Hmm.
and they before this, their debut album, they were like, this is an indie rock band, this is an alt band, this is indie, like very much so not Britpop.
Yeah.
And but it's because but this album is also considered genre defining for the genre, and I'm like, how? So I mean, I'm excited to listen to the next couple weeks and I guess maybe dive a little more into what Britpop means because I feel like last week's album, this week's album are both great, both sound fantastic. I can hear it on popular radio, top 40 radio, like in the 90s, but they're two completely different genres.
Yeah, I am eager to listen to the remaining Britpop albums. I know what to expect with one of them.
Mhm.
With one of them, and I don't even think they're very Britpop, other than them being British.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of how I
other
felt
than
about
that,
this.
but like what I was saying about Blur is that Blur felt like it encapsulated everything
Yes.
of the past. It very much, or it felt very much like it was trying to capture all from like a history of Britpop. And this
Hmm.
one is just like, no, this is rock. This is um you can see some similarities to some Britpop
Hmm.
bands. Like I think I told you mistakenly that maybe in this battle of Blur and Oasis, that Blur was going to be the more Beatlesy, and that that Oasis was going to be more like Rolling Stonesy, and they would be a little bit more rock heavy, and Blur was going to be a little bit more pop heavy. But there are songs on this where I'm like, no, this feels very Beatlesy. Like
Hmm.
this feels like more late stage Beatlesy, maybe even a little bit of like early stage. Like there's, I don't know.
Hmm.
This one feels more Beatlesy to me.
That's fair. And again, the Beatles have gone through so much genre bending. Like we said last week was specifically like a Ringo album. Like,
Hmm.
and whether you like or dislike Ringo and that, the Octopus Garden version of the Beatles, right? That's kind of what last week's vibe was to me and what we kind of discussed last week. The Beatles have also played into rock and pop, so you can
Yeah.
absolutely see those influences here.
I would say some of these songs are very Paul McCartney songs, and some of these songs are very John Lennon songs.
Yes. And it's always going to come back to the two of them
Yeah.
and they're the two opposites and how they're in the same band. And it's very interesting.
Hmm.
But I also say the other thing about Oasis not being considered Britpop is that they were not considered Britpop in 1995, or I guess in 1994. Apparently there was, so again, looking into the background of everything, we talked about the Battle of Britpop last week. We'll get more into it and kind of get Oasis's side of the story this week. But I guess in 94, Blur specifically hosted some kind of like Britpop concert. I don't know if it was like televised live on TV, but they invited a bunch of bands to be in this performance. They didn't invite Oasis because they're not a Britpop band.
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't like bad blood or anything. They just didn't even converse with one another. They're like, no, they're indie. They why would we invite them to the Britpop concert? So then I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So this kind of forced them into Britpop in a way, or there were some other things going on as well that can maybe like shift the genre over a little bit. We can get into that here
Hmm.
momentarily. Or are you ready? You ready to talk about it?
I'm ready. I'm excited to see what you've got over there.
Yes. So, like we said, this album's called What's the Story? Morning Glory by Oasis. It is 12 songs long, roughly about 56 minutes, was released on October 2nd, 1995. Fun fact about the album, it was recorded in about 15 days, which was very about one song per day is how they described it, which I think is insane for how great this album is. To record the entire thing in about 2 weeks' time is very impressive. So in terms of like Oasis as a band artist information, there's been a lot of band members to come and go throughout Oasis for several different reasons. But the two main band members are the lead singer and lead guitarist, Liam and Noel Gallagher. They are brothers. Liam was the ringleader of the band. He was the one who started the band initially, and then he invited Noel to come in. Noel became their lead songwriter. Pretty much wrote this whole album, and a lot of this album is really based on Noel's experience. So, and we see those influences throughout. Specifically, he was asked, like, hey, how does this compare to Definitely Maybe, which is their debut album, the album that came out before this one? And Noel said, whilst Definitely Maybe is about dreaming of being a pop star in the band, What's the Story is actually about being a pop star in a band. So, similarly to what Blur was doing, they kind of tied their albums together in a way, or they had similar themes, which again, very cool. I love that continuity between albums. Getting into the Battle of Britpop, because I feel like this is really where our story takes off. Oasis was not necessarily considered Britpop. They were more indie, and the tabloids are really who grabbed hold of these two bands, saying they have a rivalry, they have a rivalry. And both these bands are looking at each other like, what are they talking about? They really had no say in any of this. And the reason for that is because, like we mentioned last week, the two singles that were released on the same day, Blur's Country House, Oasis's Roll With It. And Country House outsold Oasis's Roll With It, again, 274,000 copies to 216,000 copies during the week. So a very, very close margin. Oasis. So here's how Oasis felt about that. Oasis argued that Country House had sold more because it was less expensive. It was a £199 versus £399, and with different B-sides. So that Country House had different B-sides and different versions. So it forced fans to buy two copies. So they're like, well, that's why they got more sales.
Oh,
Uh,
they Taylor Swifted them.
they Taylor Swifted them. So yeah, two copies, you got to buy two. Their management also says that there were problems with the barcode on the Roll With It single case, and that didn't record all the sales. I'm like, how many excuses can we come up with? It was pretty impressive. But my favorite is that Noel Gallagher told The Observer in September that he hoped members of Blur would, and I apologize for what I'm about to say, catch AIDS and die. That is that. I, jaw dropped when I read that, which caused a media, frenzy, and he had to apologize in a former letter to various publications for saying.
Holy cow.
So they were pretty pissed. Again, even though there was no bad blood between the bands and they didn't really even acknowledge each other or feel like they belonged in the same space, the media really got a hold of it. And Oasis kind of felt like big loss. And we talked about last week, they lost the battle, but they absolutely won the war. Because although a softer sound initially led to mixed reviews, Oasis's second album was a worldwide commercial success, sold over 1 million copies, and became the fifth best-selling album in UK history. So very impressive. And by 2008, it had sold up to 22 million copies globally, making it one of the best-selling albums of all time. In terms of charting, it actually, I think it hit number two. I don't, as specifically Wonderwall. Wonderwall as a single only reached the number two spot in the United Kingdom, which not only, that's a feat in of itself.
Just in the UK?
In the UK, it reached number
Oh,
two,
wow.
and Ireland, but in the United States and also in Australia and New Zealand, soared to number one. Wonderwall is the reason that we know who Oasis is. Obviously, they're like when we think of Oasis, you think of Wonderwall, everybody knows it. But this is the album that shot them into global success. Blur really had local success. Again, after Oasis's album came out, they had the praise for The Great Escape kind of petered out. But this was more successful globally than it was in the UK, which I thought was very interesting. Uh, in the United States, the song did peak at number one, and it reached a then unprecedented 10 weeks at number one. So 10 weeks of Wonderwall at number one was very impressive. Overall, has done very well over the years. It finished number 10 in the year end chart of 95. So the number one, Wonderwall is the number 10 song of the year from the Billboard 100's chart. And as of November 2024, has sold and streamed 4.8 million units in the United Kingdom. So has done some numbers, but I think it's really interesting because last week we just said Blur was the most streamed band in the UK, most streamed band, but Oasis is the most purchased band.
Wow.
So again, these guys are neck and neck. Like it's hard to compare them because I feel like we listen to two different albums. Like I mean, obviously they're two different albums, two different genres of album, but they get put up against each other so much. And again, the lore behind it, the history behind it is very interesting. But yeah, I thought that was a little crazy with the Battle of Britpop, and again, they really killed it with in terms of the album's success. They played back-to-back nights at Earl's Court in London. It was one of the biggest ever indoor gigs in Europe, in all of Europe. Their concert was one of the biggest concerts ever for the time. Again, Champagne Supernova and Don't Look Back in Anger also reached numbers 1 and 2 on the charts, but everybody knows Wonderwall. So yeah, any thoughts on that? I just threw a lot of information at you.
Well, I just looked up because the fact that, best-selling albums in the UK, I had to see what the other ones were. And just to do the top five, two of the top five are greatest hits albums. So number one is Queen's greatest hits.
Okay.
Number two is ABBA's greatest hits.
Okay.
Number three, tied for three, is Sgt. Pepper from the Beatles and 21 by Adele.
Oh, okay.
And then Rumors by Fleetwood Mac and What's the Story, Morning Glory are next.
Okay. So again, that's very impressive. Like you are up against musical giants in, not that, Oasis doesn't hold its own, but like the Beatles, Queen, it's like people, and it's like worldwide success. Not that, again, the Oasis definitely, before this, I kind of saw Oasis as a one-hit wonder. They obviously had more than one hit, but everybody knows Wonderwall. It's like, again, it's a meme. So to have the amount of success that they've had in the last 30 years, to have that build upon itself is very impressive.
Yeah.
And you were telling me too. So I mentioned the brothers, Liam and Noel. I've mentioned some things that Noel has said. They seem like you might know a little bit more than I do, but these guys are quite characters, it sounds like.
There's something. They hate each other, and
I didn't find anything on. I could not find it.
That they hated each other.
It doesn't surprise me.
I think they always fought with each other. even during this, like you could find, I think like on the Wikipedia and stuff like that, they talk about like the brothers fighting over just the recording of this sound or of this album. I don't really understand honestly why they hate each other as much as they do.
Yeah.
It might have been just they wanted to go in different directions. They went and did their own like solo projects.
Hmm.
Um, they yeah, I
And
think they're
this is from the very limited knowledge I have. Kind of sounds like Noel's a dick. It's just kind of like there's not a lot about Liam, even though Liam is their front runner, their lead singer. He is not the mastermind behind Oasis. And this album in particular, Noel wrote. And I think Liam has like been interviewed and said like, I wish it wasn't all about Noel's experience. Like everything is from Noel's perspective on this
yeah.
album. It's his album, really. So he's like, yeah, I wish he would have thought of not just himself. And that's a very polite, kind of a polite way of saying, yeah, he took over. Um, but and then
Yeah.
there's other member like the drummer. They had a couple different drummers, a couple different like guitar players. They had a drummer for album number one, and then Noel kicked him out of the band and got a new drummer because the old drummer quote wasn't going to be able to play the stuff he wrote. Just like that's wild.
Yeah, and recently, I think this year, 2025, they're 30 years later, they've decided to put away their feelings and tour again. So,
Mhm.
and anybody that I've talked to or any podcast that I've listened to are super excited about Oasis getting back together, but they're also like, how long? Like, I want to see them quickly. Like, I wish my city was on the front part of the tour because who knows if there'll even be a tour by the end of it. Like, that's how
Wild.
tumultuous their relationship is and how long it's been. I think it's been, 20 years since they've done anything together, at
Yeah.
least 20 years since they've done anything together. Um, I think they also are like, they know that they're brothers and that has something to do with their relationship, but
Mhm.
ultimately it's like, no, they just want to do their own thing and don't want to be bothered. And I think you're right. I think Noel is the one that's like the unhappier of the two. Um, and Noel doesn't like the spotlight as much as Liam does, I think,
Maybe.
as well. But Noel is also very like outspoken.
Yes.
So he won't turn down an interview or like somebody asking him for a
He
clip or a
will.
quote
He
because he's
will.
got a lot of them.
He will say his opinion. That's for
Yeah,
darn sure.
yeah.
Um, Yeah, I think he's maybe not as polished. And just like he's gonna, if you ask him a question, he's gonna give you the exact answer he is thinking.
It
There's,
almost like Noel comes off as a little bit. I bring him up almost as much as you bring up Taylor Swift, and you don't even bring up Taylor Swift. I bring up Taylor Swift more than you do. But Maddie Healy, like as like a lead singer who just says things without really thinking them through.
Mhm.
Like Noel isn't the lead singer, but like he does. He just says things. He just runs off at the mouth and just says
I,
whatever he wants.
the 1975 is an excellent comparison because again, starting off as indie, moving into the pop space, gaining a lot of popularity, having a lead singer who is, or at least a front man who is quite controversial in all aspects of everything. Just like you said, shoots off at the mouth.
Yeah, like
Um,
I'm just looking at this. Like he was talking about the Glastonbury Festival last year, which was very like pro-Palestinian and all this stuff. Had Blur and Kneecap and all these people, and uh, Noel was very much like, nah, it's woke now. It's preachy. It's virtue signaling. I don't want to go there. It doesn't belong in music. Get it out of there.
it's so interesting. And then you
Yeah.
have, and again, because you're going to compare them, you have Blur last week, who they're like, yeah, MTV doesn't put out anything purposeful or with meaning anymore. So we got to do these side projects that bring meaning back to to pop music, and they're really saying something. And you have Oasis, who's just like, we're just here to rock and roll, baby.
But honestly, like after these first two albums, I don't have much experience with Oasis outside of
Same.
definitely maybe and of this album. So
Same. And it sounds like the next album had some pop, like was very well received too, just because they're riding that high off of What's the Story, Morning Glory. People were excited about it, people liked it, but nothing ever chase is gonna get that high of this 95 album. This is
mhm.
really peak Oasis.
Yeah,
Um, and
I
probably
wanna
peak Blur too.
yeah, I wanna listen to I think it's their 2005 album. Looked like it was. I think that's the favorite of the whole band is their 2005 album. Don't believe the
Hmm.
truth. So after this week, I'm like, I want to go back and listen to. So I want to listen to some of their newer stuff and see what it's like,
I think that's a
and if
great
I,
idea.
and if I like it as much. So
True. Again, that maybe they've bent the genre as well. Maybe they've strayed into different things.
we'll
So we don't know.
see. We'll see.
So you want to break down this album?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do it.
So I'm gonna be honest, it was very difficult to pick songs because they're all really good. They
Hmm.
all also none of and I will say too, none of them. There's a couple that stuck out to me as like, yes, we got to talk about this. But for the most part, I was kind of like, this is the album's kind of here in terms of they all sound good,
Hmm.
and I'm not sure which one I want to chat about. So which ones are you looking at?
Yeah, before I give you mine, I wanted to say it's one of those rare albums that I think you can listen to it in its entirety, and every song kind of flows into the next song. They
Hmm.
have some like interstitial songs in there, the swamp songs. Both of those kind of lead into the next songs
Hmm.
with them. I This is a rarity, I think,
Hmm.
especially
It's
for me, that you have an album like we could listen to Blur and pick out the two songs that we like on Blur, but I'm not listening to that full album. I'm
hmm.
comfortable listening to this entire album.
Hmm.
No skips.
Yeah.
Yeah, a no skip album is really really rare. And the only ones that I would skip are the interstitial
Interstitials.
songs just because they're 45 seconds. I'm like, "Oh, let's get to the next one."
Hmm.
So that's my take on it
No,
as an album.
I agree. I don't think there are any skips on here. I also would maybe make the argument that again, when you're here, you're consistent, you're like it's good. There are no skips. There's no low lows, but there's also
Mhm.
for me no high highs.
See, I think there are some very high highs, but
Okay. But that's it. So I want to hear which
yeah.
ones. Which ones stuck out to you as your high highs?
So again, I did not list Wonderwall. Honestly, it's just it is here for me. If you were
Hmm.
talking about just, I mean, I love Wonderwall. Wonderwall's great, but it is here for me. So I honestly did not. It's not even my favorite. It's not my top five of this album.
It
Uh,
is, and we can talk. I do want to talk about Wonderwall
yeah, yeah,
as a
obviously.
song. It is so shocking that that is the one that stuck out to people.
Yeah, it's crazy. Even
Yeah.
one of the other ones, which I did pick, it blows me away that it was as popular as it was.
Yeah.
Um, so I went with "Roll with It,"
Hmm.
"Don't Look Back in Anger,"
Okay.
"Cast No Shadow," "She's Electric," and
Hmm.
"Champagne Supernova." Those were the
Okay.
five that stick out the most to me. And
I
honestly,
like
I
it.
didn't even mark. I didn't even want to put down Champagne Supernova. It is, yeah, it is a cusper for me on that. Like, just again exceeding my expectations. But I was like, I want to have five. Champagne Supernova I like a little bit better than Wonderwall, so um, I'll pick that. What
Okay.
about you?
Now I had Wonderwall, Don't Look Back in Anger. Some might say She's Electric and Champagne Song.
Okay, so
Uh,
we got a little
I
bit of
or Champagne Supernova. I don't know why I wrote Champagne Song in my notes. So we had some overview. I really did like Cast No Shadow though, but I didn't know if you would like that one, so I just didn't write it down. So that's exciting that you did.
yeah. I love Casto Shadow. It's got a great chorus. Like or pre-chorus or whatever they call it.
A bridge.
Yeah, yes, it's got no, it's not a bridge. I mean, it does have a bridge, but I think it is just the chorus. I love the um I don't know. It seems super just I wish I could put into words how it is, but when that part where he's just as he faced the sun, he cast no shadow.
Hmm.
I just really like that. I like the lyrics. Obvious, or apparently the song is about a specific person.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea who the person is, so that's why I didn't write anything down,
Hmm.
because I was like, I don't know who the hell this is, so why do I care?
Yeah, this one was kind of like, I don't want to say melancholy because I don't know why it gave me like a melancholy undertone or vibe, but it was
Mhm.
like it drew you in. And yeah, I like the lyric that when he faces the sun, he casts no shadow. Uh, Oasis loves a repeat. Every song, they're just like repeat this. That's how they end
Mhm.
every song is just repeating the same line at a minimum 15 times.
I feel like they're so like I was gonna say singable, but it encourages like audience participation in that way.
Mm,
So I like that. I mean, you see it with like worship music too. They repeat a
yeah,
lot because
that's true.
it's easy to remember and everything. So I feel like they're so singable, and I think that's another reason why I like this album is because of the melodies and because of
Mm.
the songs. Some of the lyrics don't even make any sense, but I
Yes.
find them very beautiful at the same time.
Yeah. No, there were so many times where I'm like, what does this mean? And I'm like looking it up and they're like, it means nothing. And I'm like, what do you mean it means nothing? Like, there's got to be some rhyme or reason to what we're talking about here. Like, Champagne Supernova. Champagne Supernova means nothing. like,
Yeah.
like Noel was like, I was high when I wrote it. Like, that's his response. And it's
Well,
just like,
even I think it's Champagne Supernova that when is that the cannonball? Yes.
yeah,
Uh, I was walking or we were walking slowly down the hall faster than a cannonball, and he's like, the even Noel was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like I'm walking slowly, but I'm going faster than a cannonball. So am I running? Like it's
yeah.
stupid. He said that.
Right. He also said that he was having a difficult time finding a word to rhyme with Hall.
They're geniuses. That's what I'm saying. Um, but Cast No Shadow, apparently it is about the lead singer of the band The Verve, Richard
Oh.
Ashcroft. So it is about him, and Ashcroft said it was considered it to be a great honor to have this song written about him. It is about the genius of Richard Ashcroft. So um,
Hmm.
I don't know. It makes more sense when you realize that it's about a certain person.
Hmm.
When they say, "As he faced the sun, he cast no shadow," I think that is a great visual of
Yeah.
like I don't know greatness. That's a weird way of
Right.
talking about like greatness, but
No, it makes sense. Well, yeah, I
but
don't know why it gave like that imagery like gave me like a sad feeling. I don't know
mhm.
why, because you're right. It is like a great honor. It is like this person, walks in the light in a way, is a way that you could say it. But yeah,
I
I don't know
wonder.
why it gave me like a vibe.
I wonder when they say, "As they took his soul, they stole his pride." If they're talking about like him selling out, or like
Mm,
the studios like music studios were like, no, you got to sing it this way, or you got to sing it, do a specific thing, and that's like they took his pride, or they
mm-mm,
stole his pride, and they told when they took his soul. So
mm-mm.
I don't know, but it
That
makes it a
would
little bit
be,
more interesting.
yeah, that would also make to me if I was that guy, I'd be like, leave me alone. Like, I'm trying to sell albums the same way you are. Leave me like, oh, that
Uh,
was interesting.
Noel said this was the best words he's ever written were in this
Okay,
song. So
interesting. So
no,
the man fancies himself a genius.
hey, if you don't, then are you? If you don't think that you are, then are you ever really?
That's a to go back to Matty Healy. This is a tangent. He was on Chicken Shop Date, and he's like, oh, it'd be like, doing this, that, or the other. That's like stifles my creative genius. And the what's the host's name?
Amelia.
Amelia. She's like, so you think you're a genius? And he goes, I wouldn't call myself a genius. She's like, you literally just said that.
That seems very Oasis-y to me to go out on a limb there
I like it.
and say that you're a genius and then be like, I didn't say I was a genius, and then be like, yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did. You literally just did
Yeah,
three
you did.
seconds ago.
And that's why I love him.
Well, what's the next one you want to chat about?
Um,
We kind of went out of order, but
you
that's okay.
you didn't have roll with it on there.
I didn't.
I think Roll With It is a fun poppy song.
Hmm.
I think it is probably one of the poppier songs on it. Like
I
true, like
agree.
this one feels a lot more like a Beatles early Beatles song,
Hmm.
like Help around that time,
Hmm.
8 days a week kind of vibes for this. I just think it's really fun. I think it's fun to
Hmm.
sing. Um, yeah, I don't know. I just want to roll with it. I
I
want to
just
say
want to roll with it. I think Roll With It and Hello are both ones that you could, again, have those Beatles inspirations. I would even go into like She's Electric as the all
yeah.
three of those being ones. I don't know. I think maybe it was Hello that reminded me of like the Beatles song Hello.
Oh yeah.
But
You
that's
say goodbye.
I say hello. And I don't know. I was like, I'm waiting for like some background vocals to pop out of nowhere, some harmonies, um, but yeah, no, yeah, hello and roll with it. I think, but yeah, roll with it's very poppy.
It's
But
it's also go
I
ahead.
think I think it's pop rock.
Yeah.
Like it is guitar. This is not synths. This is not, this is a rock band playing real instruments. And maybe maybe my 2025 vision of pop music's a little skewed that not, I feel like a lot of pop artists don't pop, strictly pop, don't use a lot of true instruments anymore. Not that a synthesizer isn't an instrument, but just like, a guitar, a drum, like, things that are um, analog or acoustic rather than digital. So maybe that's why I'm maybe feeling a little more biased towards it being less pop and more rock. I don't know.
Yeah. It's interesting too. I wanted to pick this one. I picked this one also because it is the first single that they put out. This is the
Yeah,
one that they put like this
that
is
didn't
the
work.
bat this is the one that's the battle between a, I mean, Country House was great on Blur's album, but I'm like, these were the two songs that you all chose to put up against one another.
And
Like it's
again, they
wild.
didn't. They didn't.
I
They
know,
like
but
they
like it's
just
still like these are the I don't know.
I say people put out new music all the time and they just happened to be releasing them on the same day.
Yeah.
So, and it's, yeah, like there's a lot, you'll see it today, because it's kind of like movies in the sense that opening day streaming numbers are important, right? Opening weekend numbers for movies at the theater are important. Opening, like, launch day for an album is important. A lot of them release on Tuesday or Friday. And you will see when artists find out that someone else is releasing an album on a certain day, they will move their album back if they think it's not going to be able to compete.
Yeah.
So you see that a lot. And it's like not so much in the, depends on how small or big of an artist you are. The larger artists are certainly doing that. Um, the Jonas Brothers, let's say this is again bringing up Taylor Swift. The Jonas Brothers moved their album release date back by a week, the most recent album, because Taylor Swift said, "Hey, I'm actually going to put out an album that day," and they were like, "Yeah, we got to bounce." So,
Well,
and
it's interesting too that the '90s are full of the singles.
yeah,
Um, we're not used to that, or we're used to more people just dropping albums at this point, like without a single.
yeah,
Streaming has completely changed um,
the everything.
the dynamic. Yeah, the dynamic of all of this stuff. So like they're putting out, I want to say what, three singles before they even put out their album.
Mhm.
And that's like a year, like not a year, but like we're talking like
Months.
months, like 6 months in between when they're going to release their first single to when they actually release the entire album. I just find that rather unique, especially
Yeah.
today. Like I think we just want it so quickly now.
Hmm.
Um,
Or people lose
or,
interest. People don't have the attention span necessarily.
or they yeah, and we don't do things by albums anymore. We don't have that no skip album because we don't have to worry about it. It's just okay, this is the song that I'm putting out. It's famous on TikTok. It's
Hmm.
got to dance to it now and everything, and that's all we want.
Yeah.
And so when you kind of don't even care when somebody releases a full version of an album once they've released their single, unless you are Beyonce, Taylor Swift, like, and they don't even put out singles for the most part. They just drop their album and say, "There you go. Here's 16 songs."
Yep.
Um, with they usually have some other element to them. Like Taylor
Hmm.
Swift might release freaking copies of the same album because they all have different
Right.
songs on it, different colors.
Hmm.
Beyonce has to put out, music videos with each one of her. They're all visual albums now.
Hmm.
So, uh,
Yeah, we don't have to worry about it anymore because of it. Like you said, they don't. We like if you think about a record player, like to pick up a needle and move it, like
mhm.
you weren't supposed to do that in the middle of playing a record, and because it would scratch the record, and you can't also pick exactly where on the record like to drop to skip over a song. So you can easily skip and pick and choose. That's what playlists are, and that's what mixtapes were, and burn CDs. Like you can pick and choose your songs, but the evolution has got from records to where we are now. Again, it's all about these individual songs. Um, there's something. Oh, I think someone who's doing this right now is Chapel Roan, and I actually don't know if it's in her favor or not. But it's not played out yet. But we're gonna find out. She had a brand new song called "The Giver" that she performed for the first time on SNL in October, and people really liked it. She's like, "Hey, this is a new song. This is my new song that's gonna come out soon, and it's a country song." And she performed it. People loved it. She just released that song like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like she has been, and she like had a lot of, she did a lot of campaigning. Like she was posting billboards, like in certain cities like Nashville about like the Giver single coming out, and there's like six different um album. Like if you were to buy it, I purchased it as a was it a digital single, or I think you can't. She is selling like vinyl legit singles. There are six different covers, but it's for this one song. She still has not announced her next album coming out. We know it's coming, but it's not even on anybody's radar yet. And I'm like, this is months in advance to sing a song on SNL in October, release it in March, and maybe an album will show up at some point.
Yeah.
And it's like, is it going to lose too much momentum? Which back in the day, it didn't. It was the
No.
teaser, it was the project, it was part of the fun of it all. Now I can look up the performance of the SNL performance on YouTube and watch it 5 or 6 times and be like, okay, I never have to listen to the song again, even though it hasn't even been released.
Yeah, that's another thing about her releasing it so late too, is that if people really wanted to listen to it, they would just bring up the performance on YouTube. Somebody recorded
Yeah.
it. I'm sure NBC had it out,
Yep.
where you could just stream it. And so people are just going to stream it there. If they really wanted to listen to that song, they don't need to go to Spotify or Apple Music or whatever they need. So yeah, I'd be curious to see how, not that she needs any help or anything. She's super popular right now. And,
Hmm.
but I do wonder if it doesn't get as many plays, or maybe it does. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a comparison. I
Yeah,
went off on a
no.
complete tangent. I apologize.
No, that's completely okay. We talk about this album thing a lot, and that's part of the thing that we're doing with this project is that listening to full albums and actually seeing, what it's like to listen to 12 songs all at once as opposed to just picking out those songs that
Yeah.
we do enjoy. So I, it's unique and not unique to the people that were alive during this time or listening to it, but unique
Hmm.
to, today's age that
Hmm.
people don't do this.
No, and then I think you miss out on some songs. Like to go back to the album, the Don't Look Back in Anger is one that I put down, and it's because I was like, I know this one. Like I had no idea that this was an Oasis song, and I wouldn't have known if I didn't play the album in full. And there's a couple other songs on here as well that I'm like, oh, I really like that. That's really good. Or
Mhm.
I never would have sought this out. And to even go into the album itself, I feel like the back half of this album is stronger than the front half of this album. Like, I mean, the entire album is strong as a general statement, but for me, I was like, Cast No Shadow, She's Electric, Morning Glories, Champagne Soup, or Nova. I'm like, I'm in.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, you wouldn't have known that if you didn't play the whole thing.
Right, right. And in, front halves of albums are typically where they put the stronger songs. So it is
Yeah.
unique that, the ones that you enjoy more. I have three of my favorites are on the back half. It's pretty split, honestly, because I said no to Wonderwall. But and I like all the songs, but yeah, I think you're right. It's interesting that they did do better on the back half. I'd be
Mhm.
curious to see how everybody else felt about this too. Like,
Yeah, if you listened, let us know what was your favorite, what was your least favorite. You
Hmm.
know, did you like the front half or the back half? Do you like Oasis? Do you like Blur better? All of those things we like to see in the chat.
Is anybody even listening to us? That's the other thing.
Just shouting into the void. What's another one that you want to chat about?
Let's see. I'm going. Do I go out of order or do I go with the ones that I feel like are important? She's Electric.
Love She's Electric.
That's, I think, if I were ranking them, well, the two pop songs that we talked about, Roll With It or She's Electric. I love She's Electric. I think She's Electric is
Hmm.
better. I like it way better than I do Roll With It, but they give me the
Yeah.
same vibes. Um, but She's Electric is fun, and it seems like it's about somebody that they like, for one.
Hmm.
Even though, like, I don't feel like they hate anybody in any of these songs, but you were talking about like
Oh,
melancholy and stuff
yeah.
of like Champagne Supernova, or Cast No Shadow even has a little bit of melancholy to it. But
Hmm.
She's Electric is fun. It's poppy. It's
Yeah.
driving. It's
It does almost feel out of place,
yeah.
but it is great. I think yeah, it's poppy, it's bouncy, it's weird. Like if you like listen to the lyrics, it's like yeah, but we don't get a lot of love songs on here. I think maybe like Wonderwall is a love song, but it's more of a ballad. But like every other song is just kind of about people, places, things. Like and like Noel said in the interview, it's about being a pop star in a band. Like it's about being in a band and dealing with these things and emotions and this lifestyle. And then you get She's Electric, and you're like, where did this come from? But it is fun. It's cute.
This one feels the most Beatles. Or, well, I don't even want to say the most Beatlesy, but this one does feel pretty Beatlesy to me.
There's a lot. It's just
There's
bouncy.
a and there's a yes, it's very bouncy, and like this verse here where he's like, she's got a cousin. In fact, she's got about a dozen. She's got one in the oven, but it's nothing to do with me. Like, I think those are really fun lyrics, and obviously of their time, the Beatles probably wouldn't have put out anything like that.
Hmm.
Um, but they're fun lyrics. They're funny lyrics. They're
Yeah,
yeah, insane too.
yeah.
Uh,
This one jumped out to me as well. I thought it was a very fun song and kind of like a reprieve in a way. Like you said, a lot of this, like what I mean, I've been talking about. A lot of this is like heavy rock, and then all of a sudden you just get a pop song, and you're like,
yeah.
okay.
So that's really all I've got about She's Electric. I think it's the most fun song on the album,
Hmm.
in my opinion. So,
What about the last one, Champagne Supernova?
Champagne Supernova, like I said, is the last one that I had put on here because I was not sure if I even wanted to talk about it. But it's also the longest song on the album.
Hmm.
And you feel it at times. It's also got the ocean in the background.
Hmm.
And that flows in from some of the other songs, from the previous songs, that it flows right into Champagne Supernova.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think this is my better Wonderwall to me.
Hmm. I agree. I know this is the longest song in the album. It is over 7 minutes long. The radio version's about 5 minutes. To me, I loved it. I was
Yeah.
like, give me all 7 minutes. Like I was taken by it. I was moved by it. Like I was like, this sounds so good. And like I didn't feel like it went on too long for me. But if I was listening to it on the radio, maybe I'd be like, hey, what's going on here? But just, listening, I thought it was a great closer. I thought it was like, again, the lyric, again, even though the lyrics mean nothing, they were kind of poignant in a way. They can mean something to somebody. Like you said, the ocean sounds in the background. They repeated over and
I
over
was
and
about to say,
over
this
and
is a
over
song where
again.
they repeat. Someday you will find me caught beneath a landslide in a champagne supernova in the sky. And they sing
Yeah,
that over and over again. But like, it
it's
is,
good.
it's almost like Hey Jude in a way of like, you're getting
Da,
the people sing.
da, da,
Yeah. They have
da.
their own na-nas in there. But the singability, again, I keep coming back to this made up word that I've keep talking about, but like, it gets the crowd into it. If I were at a concert, If I don't know if you've ever seen like a Dashboard Confessional concert or anything like that, but like Dashboard's barely singing. It's mostly the audience just singing along, and that's all you hear. I can imagine going to an Oasis concert, them ending with Champagne Supernova, and the entire audience just singing this song together and just being like blown away by it.
Agreed.
But again, you're right. The lyrics don't mean anything.
Yes, I see in the chat, sing out church. Like this is this is very churchy. But it works. It's there's a reason why worship songs sound the way they do. It's because it invokes a certain emotion in people and collective singing also invokes certain emotions in people. You could do that with Champagne Supernova.
Yeah, and if you ever use like I don't know where you find lyrics on the side, but I always use the genius.com lyrics
Hmm.
because they let people like annotate them and give you
Oh
like
yeah.
versions of them. But like 75% of the lyrics on all of these Oasis songs, it just says, doesn't mean anything. They were drunk. They were high. They thought it rhymed. It went together.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of it. All
Yeah.
of it.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And something that means so much to someone to find out it doesn't mean anything. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, and this one, I think there is a little bit more in the chorus of it, and of them being like, the landslide is, being caught in the landslide maybe means like your past is caught up to you, and or you've had a lot of like bad things happen, and this is, um, I'm kind of underneath all this,
Hmm.
uh, but I don't think Champagne Supernova means anything, to be honest
Doesn't.
with you.
It does not. He just said, I was high. It sounded cool.
Yeah. And I think I read somewhere that it was supposed to be he was listening to a Pixies album. Pixies, one of my favorite
Mm,
bands. Um, Listen to that, but their Pixies album Bossa Nova, and he just misheard it and said Champagne Supernova instead. So
good.
these guys were
Good.
probably just high.
That just seems to be the vibe.
Yeah, a
Good for
lot of
them.
good vibes there with them.
Any others? Any other songs that we need to talk about?
Yeah, I didn't talk about Don't Look Back in Anger.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've mentioned it the whole time, but I love this song a lot. I don't know what else to say about it that we haven't already said. I think this one has some fun stuff in it that we actually just learned about from watching Somebody Feed Phil. So I'll bring it up to you. So the
I'll say, what
chorus.
did we learn?
So in the pre-chorus, he says, "So I start a revolution from my bed because you said the brains I had went to my head." This is based
Uh,
on John Lennon
oh,
specifically, and also John Lennon specifically on their sleep-ins that they were having. We watched that Montreal episode
yeah.
where John Lennon and Yoko Ono stayed in bed and like conducted interviews from their bed and everything, and it was like a political statement for them, and that's where this song gets its inspiration from.
Wow.
Is
I did
from
not know that.
yeah, I
As I
love
just learned about the bed thing yesterday. So
yeah.
I did not make the connection there at all.
Um, so yeah, I think that he has also said that when he wrote this song that he was high as well and doesn't really understand all of the parts of this song, especially like Sally. Who's Sally? He's went on the record. People have said that Sally was a girl that he dated, but then other people are like, no, Sally's adulthood. And then he was like, I don't know who Sally is. I made it up. It's just I thought it sounded nice in there, and
Yeah.
it does sound nice
And
in
it
there.
does sound nice.
It
Like,
sounds so nice.
yeah, I had no idea that was an Oasis song until yesterday.
I love this song so very much, and I think that's why I held off to talk about it, is because this one sticks out to me. I forgot that it was on this album. I honestly thought it was on the previous album, but I don't know. I thought this was a really good one, and interesting that it's the fourth single on this
Hmm.
album.
But it
With
went real. It was very successful.
Yeah, which is surprising. I think this one's more popular than Champagne Supernova.
Yes.
Yeah,
This isn't their
I,
number two.
yeah, it was about Wonderwall, Don't Look Back in Anger, Champagne. Is that how it goes?
Hmm.
Their
Yeah.
first two singles that they released didn't do quite those numbers.
Yeah.
which was, I think some might say, and um,
Hmm.
Roll with It.
Roll with it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Roll
that was
with
the
it was the
second one.
first one,
No, Roll
or
with
the
It was the
second
second
one.
one.
Second
Yeah,
one. It just happens to be on that same day as Blur.
yeah, it's crazy.
Wild.
That's it. What
So
else do you
what?
have?
So what was your favorite song
Oh, it's Don't Look Back in Anger.
officially? Okay.
100%. I mean, I think I had that written down before I even listened to the whole album. I was like, this is my favorite song on this. It's my favorite song to sing along to in the car. I think it has what Champagne Supernova has, and I think it has what Cast No Shadow has or Wonderwall has.
Hmm.
But I just think it does it better than any of the other ones. And I don't know who Sally is, but she can wait. But she knows it's too late. That's my favorite song on the album, hands down.
I like it. I really liked Some Might Say. We didn't talk
Okay.
about it, but I don't know why it just stuck out to me. I think it's also a song that I have heard before, and it's like a distant memory, right? I'm like,
Mhm.
I know this from somewhere. It kind of sounds like a song that you would hear at the end of a movie, like, or at, as the credits are rolling, or like someone's like frozen in midair at, like, as the final like locks scene from
Yeah.
some kind of a teen movie. And She's Electric. Those are my top two that I'm like, you know what? I'm probably gonna go back to these.
Yeah. I agree. I like that song. Some might say, but just not enough to make my not make my top 5.
That's okay. Well, what's your least favorite? I think we have the same one.
If I had to choose, do we have the same one? Are you sure?
Oh, I was gonna say Swamp Song number two.
Oh no, I didn't include any of the Swamp songs. I
Hmm.
picked Morning Glory if I was going to pick one, but
That's fair.
I still like that song a lot.
Right. It's That's kind of why I picked Swamp Song number two. One, I love Swamp Song number one. I know it's just a 20-second instrumental interval, but it's very good. Like, they're like just rocking out and they're doing a fantastic job. The second one, you can't really hear it because of the ocean waves, which I like it in Champagne Supernova, but having it over the instrumentals, it like was too messy, too clunky, and I didn't like it that much at all.
Yeah, Morning Glory, I think is it kind of starts out with like this blues rock thing
Hmm.
at the beginning of it. Again, I don't hate it at all. I also think this one honestly has the most coherent lyrics of it, which
Yeah.
is strange enough because I mean the lyrics are just all about just waking up and doing cocaine and you know
Hmm.
I mean when you're chained to the mirror and the razor blade, that's what I mean. They're talking about cocaine there, so they're just talking about waking up.
Waking up
Another
and doing some coke.
doing some coke. I mean, it's pretty simple because they just keep repeating it over and over.
Yeah.
Everything. So
I did see somewhere that someone said a champagne, and this feels like something that you would see on one of those like weird what is that website called that just gave weird definitions of things that people
Urban
can edit.
Dictionary.
Urban Dictionary. Someone said that Champagne Supernova is like a margarita where the drink is champagne and the rim that instead of salt is cocaine. And I was like, that's not real, and it's not real. Someone just said that and put it on the internet.
I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised.
But drugs, man.
Drugs. It's a hell of a drugs.
Drugs are a hell of a drugs. Do you have any favorite lyrics? I know that we've been talking so much about how these lyrics are nonsensical, but do you have any?
I think in Hey Now, where he says, "It said you might never know what I want to know what's written inside of your head." It's talking about him like coming in and seeing this poster on the wall, and the poster reads, "You might never know I want you to know what's written inside of your head." So that's it. Those are my. Other than that, that's it.
Okay,
I mean,
I had a couple. I actually had one from Hey Now as well. It says, I took a walk with my fame down memory lane and I never did find my way back. I
I
thought that
took a
was,
walk with my brain down a memory lane.
I like that one. I also put from, um, from Some Might Say. Some might say they don't believe in heaven. Go and tell it to the man who lives in hell.
Ooh, that is a good lyric.
It's a good lyric.
That's a good lyric.
And I was like, yeah. So I think that's also partially why I like that song because that
Hmm.
lyric just like stuck out to me, and I was like, that's really good.
Yeah, that's actually a good one. They weren't high when they wrote that one.
No, it was like, oh, they actually did have something to say for a second. And the last one I have is from Wonderwall, and it's I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you. I just like that
I
line.
didn't write anything down about Wonderwall. I was like, fuck this song. I don't want to hear it.
We've just heard it so much, and we all know it. What's there to say about it
That's true.
other than anyway? Here's Wonderwall.
I really expect you to pull out a acoustic guitar and just start playing.
Today's gonna be the day, but the gun.
Terrible.
You're
Terrible.
welcome.
Never
You are
mind.
welcome.
I rescind my request.
You're like, please God, no. Well, do you have a music pairing to go along with this? I've got a couple, but I want to hear yours.
Yeah, my only music pairing I have is a band, Phantom Planet, one of my favorite bands as well. Specifically, their album entitled "The Guest." I
Hmm.
think they go really well together. One is an American band, American indie band, and obviously Oasis is who they are. But that's just an album that I can listen to from start to finish. They do have a little bit of similarities in the music. Most people know Phantom Planet for California, that song that was on the OC and everything. But I
Hmm.
actually like Wonderwall, like most of the rest of that album, way better than California. California is one of the weaker songs.
California.
Exactly. Is one of the weaker songs on that album, in my opinion. But I love
Hmm.
The Guest. It's one of my no skips albums, and that's what I would say for this.
I think that is an excellent combo. I like that a lot, especially like with the similar backgrounds. It's good.
Hmm. What about you?
I got a couple. I have a couple songs in particular that match up with a couple songs, and then a couple bands. So the first one is Chapel Roan's Red Wine Supernova.
Oh, what about
Because
Supernovas?
yes, because she has specifically said in interviews that this is the gay girl version of Champagne Supernova,
Okay.
which I'm like, good for her. But and I was wondering, I was curious, I was like, does red wine and champagne supernova, do they like, is there an influence there? Was she inspired by Oasis? And she was. She specifically called out Oasis for this song. Do they sound anything alike? No. But I like that. I like that we see a modern influence today, what we're seeing. I also, and this is where I go off the rails a little bit.
Okay,
Uh,
perfect. I love this.
for some reason, the song, some might say, the sound of it, the guitar, the chords, even the notes, reminded me of the song "Second Chance" by Shinedown.
I don't even know if I know what that song sounds like.
Sometimes goodbye is a second chance.
That song? Tell my mother, tell my father.
I swear to God, I was listening to Some Might Say, and I was like, this sounds like Shinedown. I don't know.
That's hilarious. Noel Gallagher just canceled his concerts because of this.
I said it go off the rails. Like it sounds similar. There are only so many chord progressions that you can make in the history of music, right? And
I mean, you're right. You're right.
I
I never would have made that comparison.
my brain is stupid in the way that it connects things. I'm so glad that you understand where I'm coming from.
I mean, I don't, but I'll rock out.
I'm pretending you do. I'm taking it as you do.
Perfect. Good.
I also listed two bands again, who have specifically cited Oasis as influences: The Killers and the Arctic Monkeys, specifically early Arctic Monkeys. Have been very heavily influenced by Oasis or have named them as big influences for their music. So I think it's fun to compare to like listen to, like early, I specifically think early Arctic Monkeys. You can kind of see it in Killers, but I do see it in Arctic Monkeys. To kind of make that comparison, to go back and go, oh, I hear it here now.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things to do is look up who an artist has been influenced by and then listen and see if I can hear some comparisons.
I think you could also pair this with the Allman Brothers or the Everly Brothers or the Doobie Brothers or the
Any
Jonas
brother
Brothers
combo,
or
the Naked Brothers band.
or Hanson or the Jackson 5.
Any
Um,
brother band.
the Avett Brothers,
I love it. The
30 Seconds to
Veronicas,
Mars, the Veronicas, Haim,
sister bands.
sister bands, Angus and Julia Stone. They're
Are you
brothers.
right? Are you recommending this album to folks?
Yes, 100%. Recommend, hard recommend to everybody. Not just British pop people. 90s enthusiasts can love this. Brothers can love this. Rock into like if you're wanting just good rock and roll music, I think
Hmm.
this is a perfect album for that. Just good alt rock from the 90s. And I like I said earlier on this, that I think this transcends its time period. I think it is easily like we talk about rewatchability all the time, and I think
Hmm.
this is an album I could come back to over and over. I've done it in 3 different decades,
Yeah.
and enjoyed it every time. So yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I agree. I would I would recommend this album. This is top tier. It's very good. So, so what is your rating? I have a feeling I know. What is your 5 out of 5 stars? What is your 5 star rating?
It's a rare one. It's a rare one today. 5 stars.
Five. It's Cody's first 5 star album of the year. I'm excited for you. That's good. You love it. You're coming back to it.
I am. I love this album, and that's it. Kind of. It makes me happier that I rated the Blur album as low, or I didn't give it like a terrible grade. I think I went 3 on it, but
Okay.
it made me happier that I did rate it a 3 because I was like, okay, if I have a 5 star now on my list, now I feel like I can actually grade these things appropriately. So yeah, this is my 5 star.
That's it. It was we were talking about that. Like I gave Alanis Morissette's album a 5 star. I think you might have gave it a 4 or 4 or 5.
4.5, yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
So we each have a 5 star album for the year. That's very exciting.
Yeah, we need to keep track and see
I
where we're at.
I started to rank
Okay.
mine. I have a ranking for my ranking, and we're
Ooh.
gonna have to have a you ranking as well because my top albums and your top albums are going to look very different.
Ooh. I wish now I gotta make a list. This is a project. I love
Gotta go
lists.
back. You gotta go back through and look at your ratings. I actually gave this album a 4. I is it a no skip album? Yes. Is it cohesive? Yes. But like I said in the beginning, it was here. It was
Mhm.
so consistent that I had no low lows. I did not hate anything on this album, but I also did not have any high highs. That's just for me. Also, if I'm being, and I understand, I rated Blur a 3.5, I believe, 3.5, and I
Mhm.
gave this a 4. I think I might be more of a Blur fan.
Oh, wow. You got
I
Gorilla's bias on your side.
I do, and but I'm also a lyrics person.
Yeah, does
And
make sense.
yeah, yes, I can connect to that better. Like, does this album have has more songs that I would listen to than the Blur album? Yes, but I connected more with the Blur album. I liked the
Okay.
Blur album more. Now, again, is it a lower rating than this one? It is. Like, if I'm being as objective as possible. But I think, and again, I think there's some bias there with Gorillaz. I am a big Gorillaz fan. But I think that's just more my vibe. I like synths. I like the ska and the weird of it all. That's more for me. I do love rock music too, but I think I'm more of a Blur person than an Oasis person.
Wow. You heard it here
So
first, folks.
so this is the official, Battle of Brit Pop 52 slash version.
That's true. Maybe you'll like some of these other ones that we're doing better.
Yes, I'm excited. I want to again. Pulp is what we're going to talk about next week. We'll get to that in a second, but I'm excited because I this is a genre that I think these were both very strong albums. I enjoyed both of them, and I can't wait to hear more.
Let's do it. Let's keep doing it.
Well, anything else, Cody? Anything else we're looking for?
No, I think everybody should listen to Oasis and say how much better they are than Blur. I'm
I've
just
just
messing. I'm just
I've just
messing.
started a turf war. All right. Well, then, if that's all that we've got, again, thank you for joining me, for listening to this album with me and going through and giving your opinions and your rankings. It makes me very happy. to have these conversations. Before we wrap up, do you have any recent music recommendations or just recommendations in general? What you listening to?
I started listening to the only things that I ever, start listening to are because of TikTok or Instagram or whatever I'm looking at. That's the only time music is ever sent to me. Some occasionally Spotify will get me with their new music or whatever it is. But I listened to this guy's name's Blake Rouse. I
Mm.
forced you to listen to a couple songs. He's very folksy.
Hmm.
He's also super young. He's 20 years old. I think he's already had like 3 albums out or something stupid like that.
Crazy.
But he has a song called "If I See a Road" that I really, really connected with. It is a very long song. It's probably like 6 minutes long or something like that. I always, I Petey, if you know who Petey is, he's pretty famous on TikTok and all that stuff. But he has a song. This one's also kind of in that Midwest emo esque genre. But he has a song called "The Milkman" that I really enjoyed. And then I just came across this other band called or woman. Her name's Eka Vandal, or that's what the
Hmm.
band's name is. I really dug the vibe of them. So yeah, check that out. What about you?
I haven't listened to too much lately. I've been watching a lot of Somebody Feed Phil, which is a show on Netflix. But the theme song from Somebody Feed Phil is by a band that we both love, Lake Street Dive. And if you're into kind of like horns and bass sounding and like a lead singer who has like the most one of the, such a soulful, deep alto voice and can hit any note ever, fun music, I highly recommend Lake Street Dive. They do sing the theme song for the show, but they also have multiple albums out that are all equally fantastic.
We
So
saw a
that's
guy die at one of their concerts.
he didn't die. He just had an issue.
It was
They
awesome.
wheel, it was wild. They, that was what a wild concert. Great concert. I cried. It was so good. But yeah, a man did almost die, we
A
think.
rare band that sounds exactly how they do
Oh my
live as
God.
they do in, on their
Hmm.
album. So
Yeah, so cool. They do a lot of like interesting sounds with their instruments. Highly recommend Lake Street Dive. I also am ashamed to say I was listening to Drake this week. I was I was just trying to evoke the feeling of 2018, and DJ Khaled is who came up, and that's what I listened to for a little while. And I was like, God, I wish this person didn't suck.
yeah,
So but that's that. And I
nice.
see we got a rec in the chat too. Hard Fought Hallelujah by Brandon Lake and Jelly Roll. I know
Yeah.
Jelly Roll's on a roll as of late, so if that's I had to do it. So if I like that, thank you. As I said, put your recs in the chat. I love to see them. I love finding new music, hearing new music.
Yeah.
I will take any and all recommendations because I feel like I haven't had a lot that I've been like really dig. I mean, obviously we do this project and I get to listen to at least an album a week, but outside of that, there's not really been anything that's grabbed my attention lately. So a couple songs here and there, but really just listening to the old faithfuls. So give me your recommendations. And if you're, wanting to give us more recommendations when we're not streaming live, but you want to send us messages anyway, we do in fact have a Discord that you are all welcome to join, and you get more information about just the general 52 universe. We also have our Instagram page where you can find again posts about this podcast as well as our 52/movies podcasts. See when we're streaming, if we have to change the date or things like that. And yeah, goes comment, follow, all that fun jazz. Next week, and I mentioned it earlier, that we are going to be covering Pulp. The artist's name is Pulp, but their album is called Different Class. So that is available wherever you're able to stream. But thank y'all again for tuning in. Thank you for being active in the chat. Y'all are super awesome for being here. We'd love to have you. And we'll see you next time on 52/19.